students? So you're a businesswoman.
Good morning. And welcome, welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Thomas Gregg, and I am the worship associate this morning along with my buddy Greg Bettinger. Today is Sunday, May 10th, 2026, and happy Mother's Day. Our community is striving to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you have been, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. And whoever you are becoming, we welcome you and invite you to bring your whole self here now. Our guest speaker this morning is Timothy Lewis, and Greg will have a more personal introduction for you, but I'll give you the formal one. He's a member of the Tohono O'odham Nation, located in southern Arizona. He grew up in the San Javier Reservation near Tucson and graduated from Sherman Indian High School in Riverside, California. He is self and apprentice trained and has continued his training through participation in national and international specialized courses and conferences in institutions such as the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., and the International Institute for Conservation of Historic and Artistic Works in Madrid, Spain. He is a member of the American Institute for Conservation, and his specialty is conservation and restoration of mural and oil paintings and polychrome sculptures. He has been a practicing professional since 1992 and art conservator at the Mission Church of San Javier del Bac, just south of Tucson, since 2001. Please let's give him a warm UUCT welcome. Welcome here. So some housekeeping. There are gender-specific bathrooms out the glass doors behind you, and there's also an accessible and gender-inclusive single-stall restroom in the AV alcove. Also, on Sunday mornings only, the sanctuary, the social hall, our parking lots, and our children's classrooms are open to all without invitation. However, we have designated a number of other areas as private, even on Sunday morning. Private offices are labeled, and entry to those spaces is by invitation only for all of us and also for any law enforcement officers, including ICE, unless they have a proper judicial warrant. If you do not feel safe and need to take advantage of those spaces, you are now invited. As we worship today, let us always remain mindful of those desert people who came first to this place. We honor the O'odham, the Yaqui, and the Apache. We also honor the Hohokam and the many other ancient indigenous peoples whose names are not known to us. As Unitarian Universalists, one of our core values is transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. As we move more deeply into the sacred space of worship, please know that you are indeed welcome here. However you arrived today, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever cultural and ethnic background you claim, whatever your immigration status, whomever you love, however you identify your gender, and in whatever way you choose to express it, you are truly welcome here. We especially welcome any new visitors this morning. If you are new and you're feeling up to it, we invite you to raise your hand so that we can welcome you warmly. Any visitors today? Fantastic. Welcome.
Green light. Good morning. I'm the other half of the Worship Associates today, Greg Bettinger. I'm glad you're all here. This service today is something we wanted to try out, where we hope to find inspiration through the power of images and stories and the voice of our guest speaker, Tim Lewis. More about Tim in a bit, in addition to what you heard from Tom. But know that these early images of the mission San Javier del Bac are a key part of his story and the story of the restoration of this late 18th century mission that's actually only a few miles from where we are gathered today. Our call to worship this morning, Mother's Day, is Come In From the Wind by Reverend Heather Ryan Starr. She's the minister for the UU Church in Lewis, Delaware. On this day, as with so many Sundays, we come in from the whirling world. The wind, the bright sun, the push and pull of tides and time, from the tumult of the global news and local stories. The pain we hear of, the demands on our spirits, the do this now culture that we live in. We come into this sanctuary from that windstorm, the rush of speeding drivers on the roadways out there, the rustling silence that fills some of our homes, the vastness of a once busy and perhaps now quieter house. I'm getting a signal here. Try that. All of this can leave us feeling stirred and unsettled. When we give our attention to what's going on around and beyond us in this throbbing world, we can feel windblown. We need places where we can come and find our grounding once again. Come in from the wind. Come in from the whirl. May this be a place where we can experience genuine stillness, even if just for a few moments. May this be a place that we can count on. As we turn onto the driveway or as we turn on our computers and come seeking our congregational homepage, may we feel pulled into a restorative time of energetic peace. May this be a place of learning, of nourishment, a community that generates new zest in us for the dynamic beauty of this world. Come, let us worship together. I'm going to see if you can get this one working again. It's number 4. Yep. How's that? Yes. Yes. Ooh, I like that. You'll notice in our newsletter we made mention of technological difficulties. Apparently they followed us into the sanctuary today. We're going to try something a little different again today. Our chalice sliding, I'm going to read a couple of lines in Spanish and then ask you to repeat, and then we'll go on to the English. It's our title today is Una llama para iluminar nuestro camino by Deborah Burrell. El fuego consume y proyecta una luz brillante. Que la llama de nuestro cáliz consuma. Nuestros lamentos por el pasado. Nuestros temores por el futuro. Y nuestras preocupaciones por el presente. Que nos ilumine un camino de alegría y paz. And now we'll try it in English as Tom lights our chalice. Repeat with me, please. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
And would you rise as you are able and join in singing the first hymn in the Gray Hymnal, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and gale go by. Light that walks softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and through these sheltering walls are thin. May they be strong to keep pain out and hold on in.
Please be seated.
For our own joys and sorrows, and those of others, and for so many other reasons, we set aside this moment together to remember, to honor, and hold dear the joys and sorrows in our lives. We symbolize our coming together with our shared bowl. With the large stones, we reach down to the stability and firmness of the earth, which has witnessed every migration and movement since it coalesced out of stardust. We know that this strength can hold all of our pains and joys, our loves and angers. With this water, we remember that this life-sustaining resource is not always available to all. We offer our witness to those migrating at this very moment, especially those moving through our desert without access to water. With our smaller stones, we add our own personal celebrations and mournings. And Tim will tell you about the photo that's up there. That's a personal joy for him. Now it's your turn to contribute as you choose to. One way is to go to menti.com and put in the code 1781-6417. Please add your name if you want us to know who is sharing. Another way to contribute is to come to one of the tables and to place a stone in the water to create ripples that will carry your intentions forward. The table in the back is off camera for those who prefer that option. Now, I invite you to engage in a moment of silent reflection, meditation, or prayer as we create our own ripples of hope. we have some Menti. Our precious granddaughter, Charlie, turned 1 yesterday. What a joy she is. That's from Jennifer and Francis. Yeah. 1, yay. Missing my mother on Mother's Day, R.I.P. Mama, highlighter. Oh, those of us who have lost our mothers can relate to that as well. So we'll hold you in our hearts. Attended a lovely memorial for a colleague yesterday. The lives of those now gone are lessons, grieving and growing. Well, that's positive, the growing part. We have to work on grieving by growing, I think. And glowing from a beautiful backpack into the remote Rincon Mountains this past week with my wife. Such a wonderful place we live in and great thing to share. Yes. It's good weather, I think. Good time for a backpack. It's about to get warm, you know. Vince and Kathleen Waldron are celebrating 40 years of marriage today and looking forward to 40 years more VNK. Yay!
Yeah.
Congratulations. Grateful a month more of spring followed the first wave of heat that landed early in March. I guess I'm ready for the summer's heat. Yeah, me too. I think that's all the Menti.
That's all I see. Yeah. Thank you, Thomas. Are we back on? Yes, we are. Okay. I have to say that moving to Tucson from the Pacific Northwest was never a dream of ours, my wife Jan and me. Leaving Alaska in the late 80s was a big enough deal at the time for me. But friends who knew Tucson pretty well kept suggesting we'd appreciate the winter hiking opportunities. So in the early 2000s, we slipped into town and started exploring. We kept coming back, first just to hike, visit all the usual places, including Saint-Nazaire. But once we settled into repeating our stays at one particular guest house in Armory Park and extending those stays from days to weeks and long weeks and even into months, there was a subtle shift in our perspective. That shift was nurtured by a slowly expanding circle of genuinely warm welcomes, extended with no pretense, no caution, just an invitation to share who we were with these great people. And among this circle were Tim Lewis and his wife, Matilde Rubio, who, like all the others, greeted us as if we'd known them for years. I still reel from that realization that that's quite a few years back. Tim and Matilda have had a private studio in Tucson, Tejano Restorations, since 2014, where they accept conservation projects for private and public entities and personal collectors. Together, as you heard from Thomas, they've been art conservators at the Mission Saint-Nazaire del Bac since 2001. Their specialty work is in the conservation and restoration of canvas and panel paintings, polychrome sculptures, and mural paintings. In addition to their work at Saint-Nazaire, they both have professional experience in Europe and the U.S. Projects are photo-documented from start to finish, and many of the photos you'll see during Tim's talk today are a history of their restoration work at Saint-Nazaire and other places in Europe. It's my honor now to introduce my friend and welcome Tim Lewis to share some of his background. Thank you.
There? Okay. Yeah, my name is Tim Lewis, like he mentioned before. And I wanted to start off with the photo of the church, which was built by our people, the Tona'odam, and the Spanish people who came from Spain, of course, and converted us to Catholicism. So it's over 229, it's about 229 years old, the church. And so our first year of restoration was in 1992. the January 1992. When I first started, well, actually, to start my story, I was actually a construction worker when I first started working. And I was always changing jobs left and right. I was a welder. And the reason I kept changing jobs was because I kept quitting. I had a drinking and drug problem, mostly crack cocaine and cocaine. So when before the work at Sanavir started, I was working at a place called Desert Archaeology, and I think I was there for like 2 months, and my father told me about the work that was going to be done at the Sanavir mission. And I said, well, I already have a job. And he said, well, this is closer to your house, which it was. It was like 2 miles from our house. And I said, okay, I'll go for the interview. So I went, and I got there, and there were like 20 people, and it was a small room. And I sat there, and I waited for about 15 minutes. One of my problems is that I have no patience. So I sat there, and I just walked out. I mean, I said, well, they only need 4 people for this project. So there's no way they're going to hire me because I don't have no experience. I'm not an art conservator. I'm a construction worker. So I walked out, and I was already planning what I was going to tell my father. I was going to say, hey, they already got who they wanted. But before I got out of the parking area where there was an arch, I stopped, and I don't know what made me turn around. I turned around, and I went back, and I said, I guess I'll just stick it out. So I got interviewed, and then the 2 people that were interviewing us, one was from the Guggenheim Museum. And so they asked me, have you had any art experience? I said, no. And I don't even know what I'm doing here. I just came here because my father sent me. So I couldn't lie, So then the guy asked me, have you painted anything? And I said, well, I just paint a fence every once in a while. And that was the truth, So he said, well, just sign your name and we'll see what happens. And I said, okay. So I signed my name, thanked him, and I left. So I was still working at Desert Archaeology, and I worked a Saturday. This was, I think, just after Christmas. And I was the only one there. And so the phone rang, and I answered it. And the guy said, is this Tim Lewis? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you got the job. And I said, what job? And because I was already working, and he said, to work at the church. And I said, well, when does it start? And he said, Monday. And this was a Saturday. And I said, well, I can't do it. I have to give these guys 2 weeks' notice. And he said, well, don't worry about it. I know your boss. He was a student of mine. So I said, okay. So I wasn't too sure. So I called my boss, and I said, hey, I got this job to work at the church. And can I go? And he said, yeah, he told me. He called me. So, yeah, you can go. So I said, okay. But so they hired 4 of us, and we can go to the next slide. This is the crew. This is the crew that was working there, and we had like the Italians coming and 4 of us local people: Gabriel Wilson, Donnie Preston, Mark Lopez. That's Paul Schwartzbaum from the Guggenheim. Marco Puglieri, Vincenzo Santani, myself, Matilda, my wife, Donatella Zari, Carlo Giantomasi, and Paola Zari. That was the crew at the end of the last 3 years of the project. And so when I got hired, when we started working, Mark and Donnie were not the original ones that started with us. There were 2 other people before us, or before them. So then we started partying again. So I wasn't really quite sure what I was doing. So, and it was hard to understand what was going on because we were just being trained. So, and the Italians didn't really speak English too that well. So it was just like a communication problem. We would just point fingers, like this and like that. So, and we would get frustrated, so we'd just not show up and go out and get drunk. What else could we do? But at the end of the project, which was around March, the first year, I didn't have any work, so I was kind of trying to decide what to do. So I called the construction crew that was working at the church, and I said, "Can I work with you guys?" And they said, "Well, let us think about it," because they knew we were doing that. We were not showing up for work. So I finally called again this took like 2 months, I think. He said, the guy kept saying, call us next week, call us next week. So I call him. No matter where I was, where I woke up, I would call them and say, can I come in? And then finally they called me in, and they said, you can come in on Wednesday. So I went in on a Wednesday, and I was still kind of buzzing. And so Friday came, and I made it like 3 days. And then Saturday morning I woke up, and I said, I just lay there kind of like this in my bed, and I said, what are you going to do? You going to grow up? Are you going to be stuck here? So I said, this is going nowhere. So let's try this way. So that's how I started. One day, okay, today I'm not going to drink. One of my friends came over, and he said, what are you doing? Oh, no. Earlier, I had tried to ask my sister, can I use the car? I'm going to go get some bread and eggs. I wanted to make breakfast. So she said, let me think about it, because she knew if I took off, I was going to take off for a week or, whatever. So I just didn't get upset. I just said, okay, so I waited. And my friend showed up, and then he said, what are you doing? I said, nothing, I'm just relaxing a little. And then I said, hey, can you give me a ride to the store? And he said, sure, with a smile, like, yeah, we're going to go get beer. So I got to the store, got my bread and eggs, and he said, where's the beer? And I said, well, I don't feel like drinking today. I can get you one if you want one. So I bought him a beer, came back to the house, he opened it. Here, take some. And I said, no, I don't feel like drinking today. So that was my first day being sober. So Monday came, I went back to work with the construction crew, and I said, wow, this is what Monday looks like. I could actually see clearly. It was unbelievable. So I made it 1 week, 1 month, and then I started going back to church. And this was right after the first project, which we were working on in the East Transept. And I started going to church for like 6 months faithfully every Sunday. And every time I went in there, I saw what we had done the previous project, and I said, hey, this is pretty interesting. There's a light, it's like a light is on. It's like the rest of the church was dark, but the East Transept was like bright, because we had restored it. And it was like almost like a Caravaggio painting. It was dark, and then you have light coming in. So then I said, maybe this is something I could work with. But as I was working with the construction crew a little bit longer and longer, I wanted to stay with them. But our boss that hired me, one of them that hired me, said, are you coming back? And I said, no, I want to stay with the construction crew. And he said, no, you have to come back because you already did the first year. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and come back. So I went back, and it was easier because I had already known what we did the year before. So I had that little bit of 3 months experience, because that's how long the projects lasted, was like 3 months. After the second year, I think they saw that too, and after the second year, somebody asked, the guy that interviewed me asked me, Bernard Fontana asked me, would you like to learn more about art conservation? This was in 1993. And I said, sure, why not? And he said, well, you got to go to Europe. And I said, okay, good, when do I leave? And he said, whoa, slow down, we have to save some money. So then I find, the year came, 94 came, and the priest that was there at the church, Father Michael Dahlmeyer, he's the one that paid my way to go to Europe. And so I went, I left from LA because my father asked me, do you want to go somewhere before you leave? And I said, well, my niece was like a year old. So I said, I would like to, go with Susie take Susie to Disneyland. So we went there, and I left from LAX. So, because I wasn't too sure if I was ever going to come back, that was the problem, because I'd never been anywhere. So we left. I left LA, and I was okay. I'd never been on a plane, but when the pilot said, we're going over the North Pole, I just shook. I said, holy, crap. I'm going to the other side of the world. And then I said, okay, calm down. You're not going to do anything stupid. You're just going to be there for 6 months, and then you're going to go home. That's it. And then I met my wife. And we met in Austria, because that's where I was starting the project in Austria. And so, because one of the guys that was working with us at the church was from Salzburg, and he happened to be working in Austria. So they had it planned. I was going to work 3 months in Austria and 3 months in Rome, Italy. It turned out to be 4 months in Austria because we were finishing the project, no matter what Matilda says. We were finishing the project, and so I stayed an extra month. By then, when I first got there, I was really nervous, and I didn't know what to do because it was totally different from the conservation work we did at Santa Vir to the conservation work in Austria, and I was panicking. And I kept, cursing Father Mike. I kept saying, "Why did you send me here? Why did you send me here?" I'm making mistakes left and right. Then finally, Matilda came around and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm having a problem with this and this." So she helped me out, and we became friends. We had lunch, started having lunch together, and then, we just kind of hooked up. Yeah. So then I helped her drive from Austria to Spain, which was like a 3-day drive. And so you can change the slide if you want. That's after Austria, I went to Rome. This is in Rome, Italy, in the Villa Medici. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Conclave. That lion was in there because we were watching it, and I said, "Hey," we both said, "Hey, that's your lion." And there was, there were 2 of them. It was like a stairway walking down, and there's one on each side, either side of the walkway. And so that's where I was working at for about 2 months, almost 2.5, about 2 months in Rome. And then you can go to the next one. And this is us. This is me again at Santa Vir in the choir loft. And what I'm doing there is injecting we don't use it anymore, so I can't remember. A consolidant. Yeah, we're injecting a consolidant into the wall because it's hollow. So we're trying to fill it in and make it stronger. So that's what I'm doing there. So the next one.
You can take your mic off the podium if you like.
I think, okay.
Hold on.
All right. Okay, thank you. And this is one of the statues there at Santa Vir. You can see the before and after. That side is dirtier, dustier, and this one is cleaner. And his face is more, it's cleaner because we took all the dust off and the varnish that had been applied on there before. The next one, and these are also the 2 angels, one of the 2 angels that we worked on as well. The curious thing is that it's made out of wood. The body is made out of wood, the hands and the feet are made out of wood, but the clothing is made out of canvas. Canvas dipped in gesso and then shaped before it dried, and the wings are made out of wood too, and then painted later as the colors that you see now. Next one, this is the same thing. This is the angel on the west side of the church. And the next, and this is in the baptistry. Left side is not clean. Somebody had applied cement. All that white that you see up there is just cement. And then we took it off, and they had never really cleaned it because when we took the concrete off, we saw a lot of wasp nests underneath, so they never really cleaned it. So then we put lime plaster in for the covering on the right side. Next, and this is in the, where is it? By the main altar. Also, you can see all the flaking of the face on her face, and then this one is restored. What we do when we do restoration is that we don't try to recreate things. As you see, this whole part is missing up here. We don't try to recreate it because we try not to put ourselves into our work. It's not our work. We're trying to respect the work of the people that came before us. Next. And that's me in one of the niches. I think I'm putting plaster, filling in the holes. Next. And this is one of the, this is in the main altar. Again, before cleaning and after cleaning. Next. And this is one of our projects in Spain. This was in Valladolid, Spain, which is like 2 hours north of Madrid. And what I'm doing is I'm removing all the varnish. You can see that little square, I'm using a Q-tip, like a Q-tip, and then this part is dirty. This is varnish. This is all clean up here. And I think Matilda was doing the same thing in this area. Next. And this painting was huge. And this was in Granada, Spain. Also cleaning with the same product, denatured alcohol, removing the varnish. This was a huge painting. Next. And this is in our studio at our house. One of these two paintings came from the cathedral downtown, St. Augustine Cathedral. And they were in the old chapel. I think they tore it. I think they are still there. They refurbished it. But we put them back up. Next. Oh, it's going backwards. This is a sedan chair. This is a client from Sedona, Arizona, and he's French, or him and his wife are from France. And when he called, he said, "Do you guys do chairs?" And I couldn't really understand it because he had a real thick accent. And I said, yeah, we can do a chair. And he said, "It's a sedan chair." And I said, "Okay." So, because I couldn't understand him, I didn't want him to explain everything to me. So I said, "Can you send us a photo?" And he said, "Sure." So he sent us a photo, and then I said, "Wow." So, then we picked it up, went and picked it up, and began working on it. Again, removing all the varnish and bringing out the real color, which is on the right side. And this was I really liked this. I was hoping he would forget about it so we could keep it. But, he called and said, "Is it done?" And we said, "Yeah," so we took it back. So, next. This is what a conference, I think this was in Chicago, conservation conference for the American Institute of Conservation. We were doing a presentation on the work that we were doing at Santa Vir. Next. This was earlier this year, about a month ago. We had a TCRAT conference, and I can't remember the meaning of the word TCRAT. It's a Spanish word. I'm here. I'm demonstrating how we use the cactus juice. We boil the cactus and squeeze the juice out of it to mix it with our mortar. And the reason I do that is because it helps the mortar dry slower. Because if it dries too fast, it cracks. So this kind of aids in the slowing process. And the girl next to, behind me, the one in red, or the one back there on the left, that's our niece. And she's our trainee, or was our trainee. She's been working with us for about 9 years. And the reason it's not nepotism. It's because we were told that we needed to we needed to train somebody, which is true. We're getting older. So we said, okay, they were going to get, the Patronato board was going to hire 2 people from the university. And I said, well, I don't think it'll sit well with the community. They would rather have somebody from here. And our boss said, well, if you can find 2 people, that'd be great. And so I said, okay. And when we were working together, Matilda and I said, you know what? If we ever hire somebody, and this was before we even started our business, we were just joking with it, or I was joking with it. I said, well, you need to hire somebody left-handed, because if you're working right-handed, you go right to left. But when you get stuck in a corner or a difficult position, it's hard to reach like this. And I said, a left-handed person can come and go this way. So we said, okay. And then I said, well, Susie's left-handed. And she was working at Macy's. So I said, hey, would you like to learn how to do our work? And she said, can I try it? And I said, sure, you can try it for a month and we'll see what happens. And she said, okay. So she came, she worked with us for a month. And I said, how do you like it? And she said, I love it. Can I stay? I said, sure, that's what we're looking for. So she's been with us ever since. But that's how she got started. And this is us on the scaffold in the main, in the facade. That's what we were working at earlier this year too. This is our second season of working there, because being outside, we can only work there in the winter months where it's fresher, because our chemicals start to dry out too fast when it's too hot. So I think we were happy back then. Okay, next. This is us receiving an award. I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember? Pima County's Pima County Historical Commission. Okay, next. And this is another award that I can't even remember either. I mean, it's nice to get these things, but for me, I don't know. It's nice. It's nice. But I'd rather do the work, to show the appreciation for the work that our ancestors did. Try to preserve what they did. Not only my ancestors, but Matilda's ancestors too. And this is one of the things that I wanted to say too, was that we had some people from, Spanish people from Phoenix come over to visit the church. And I walked outside because it was the baptistry was too small, so I walked out, sat down, and I was sitting with one of our guests. And I just sat there and I said to her, you know what, this is weird, I said. 200 years ago, your people came to help us build this church, or we helped you guys build the church. Then 200 years later, they sent me to Europe for whatever reason to learn about conservation. Then I get one of your people and I say, come over here, a Spanish person, come over here and help me preserve what our ancestors built, which was kind of strange. I mean, for me, it was kind of weird, but it worked out good. I mean, we've been married for like 30 years now, and it's, it's pretty nice. So, and this is still in the facade. This is last year or early this year. And I think that's it, no? One more. Yeah. And I don't know if I finished my story, but I think I talked enough, so. And I forgot where I left off after explaining about the photos. So I hope I made everything clear to you guys. But it's just really, people say it's a labor of love, but I don't think so. I think it's just for me, is to show appreciation for our ancestors. That's it. Thank you.
Our next song is one of our oldest tunes in the Gray Hymnal, and it always carries, it's in here a few times, it always carries such wonderful and evocative lyrics. Please rise as you are able, and let's sing through. If you don't know the tune, just enjoy the words.
To my bedside with the day's surprise, faith in the marvelous bloomed anew each dawn, flowers bursting fresh within my heart each day. Then looking on the world with simple joy, in insects, birds, and beasts, and common weeds, the grass and clouds at fullest wealth above, my mother's voice gave meaning to the stars.
Okay, we'll see. Oh, yeah, that's working. That sounds about right. Thank you. Thank you again, Tim. I love learning more and more about your story every time we hear you talk. One Sunday each month is designated as Share the Plate Sunday, so that's today, on which we give half of the non-pledge collection to a community organization whose mission we support. Generosity is a spiritual practice, and Share the Plate is an expression of our mission. Youth on Their Own is our Share the Plate recipient this month, and their Director of Development and Communication, Bethany Newman, is here with us today to speak about their important work.
Hello. Is it on? Oops.
It's on.
It's on? Oh, there it goes. Hello, everyone. My name is Bethany, and as was mentioned, I work at Youth on Their Own. If you've heard of Youth on Their Own or YOTO, could you please raise your hand? That's what I like to see. You might know that Youth on Their Own is an organization here in town that helps youth experiencing homelessness without their parents graduate from high school. So I think it's pretty interesting to be here on Mother's Day as well. All the youth with whom we work don't have a biological parent there to support them. That could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because of drug addiction or incarceration, or it could simply be because of immigration. We see a lot of youth whose parents have had to go back to Mexico or Guatemala or other places and who've stayed here to pursue their education. This year we'll be serving about 1,400 kids. That's middle school to recent high school graduates. So we have about 40 kids in the middle school program. Those are going to be usually the younger siblings of older kids. It's about 1 in 5 YOTO youth is actually pregnant, parenting, or caregiving, their own kids, siblings, and whatnot. About 1 in 5 also identifies as LGBTQ+. About 80% of those kids, unfortunately, say that's the reason that they're on their own. We help in 3 really specific ways. The first one is what we're most known for, and if you take nothing else away from this, just remember Youth on Their Own pays kids to go to school. We were started 40 years ago by a counselor at Amphi High School who tried to start it as a small housing organization, but very quickly realized the need was much bigger, and housing is really, really hard. So she started paying folks to go to school, and that has kept with us for the last 40 years. Now we spend over $1 million each year on direct financial support to youth. So they earn it simply by attending school. The second big thing that we do, if you've ever visited our campus, you'll have seen, is our mini mall, where youth can come to get free hygiene products, school supplies, food. If you haven't been, I welcome you to come. We're at 2525 North Country Club now. We moved a couple years ago. Pretty easy to remember. It's like that Age of Aquarius song in the year 2525. Youth can come anytime to get free food, hygiene products, as I mentioned. We also deliver. So we give out about 170,000 items each year. Through our Volunteer Caring Couriers program. So during the week, youth can order things online. It's kind of like a YOTO Amazon. We have volunteers who package those orders up and other volunteers who deliver them every Wednesday morning. It would not be possible without our amazing volunteers. And the final thing we do is we provide guidance and support. It's not like magically they graduate from high school and everything's awesome. So while they're in high school, we try to connect them with whatever resources we can to help them. And after they graduate, they have the option of staying in the program so that we can help them with a pathway. That could be going to college, it could be going to trade school, it could be going into the workforce. For our parenting youth, it could be helping them learn how to balance having a child and working at the same time. But we know that it's not just like, bam, you graduate, everything's awesome. That said, high school graduation is the metric by which we measure our success. Does anybody know what the graduation rate in Pima County is, roughly? It is low. It's in the early 70s, something like 73, 71. It's the 4-year rate. For Youth on Their Own, our seniors graduate at 89%, so significantly higher. Yeah. And that is only possible because of all the folks who support them, like you. If I go out after this, somebody is inevitably going to say, oh, I was in the program. It's amazing to encounter so many folks in the community. We estimate about 20,000 who've been served by YOTO over the last 40 years. And it's just a wonderful place to work, and we can't thank you all enough for supporting our youth, for supporting us, and for being part of the YOTO family. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Bethany. Yep, still on. I'm going to turn this one off. There we go. And Bethany will be over in social hour with some information if you have questions. Half of the amount of all checks made out to UUCT that have Share the Plate written in the memo line, as well as half of all our cash donations today, will go to Youth on Their Own. If Share the Plate is not written in your checks memo line, it will not be included. If you're joining us virtually, that's you. You can send a check to the church office with Share the Plate in the memo line, or give online at uuctucson.org/donate. If you do give online, be sure to indicate that your donation is for Share the Plate. While we reflect on the stories, music, and inspiring words we've heard today, I'd ask that you look around at the faces of this community. These are the faces of Unitarian Universalism in the desert Southwest. Some you recognized, others not, young and old. We know some are missing just today. Others have gone on a new journey, and we won't see them again. Our time in this beautiful home we call Earth doesn't last forever. But our UU values can and must outlast all of us. I encourage you to offer your financial support this morning as our ushers pass out the offering baskets among you. If you're a visitor here today, please feel free to let the baskets pass you by. We're very glad you joined us, and we hope we'll see you again. As the offering is collected, announcements about upcoming activities will appear on the screen. Thank you.
So normally this is when somebody from the board comes up and does the announcements, but guess what? I'm doing the announcements as a member of your board today. When they say, who wants to do which Sunday? I say, well, I'll already be there as a worship associate. So here I am, putting my Board of Trustees hat on today. My board portfolios are social justice and Ways and Means. And Ways and Means is the group that monitors the various fundraising efforts in the church, such as the rummage sale, the auction, and the recent stewardship campaign. I want to first invite everyone to social hour after the service over in Goddard Hall, which is out the double doors. Behind you, there will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, snacks, and good company. Social hour food and refreshments are free for all, but donations are appreciated to cover our costs. And visitors, you might have seen the slide go past, the visitors are encouraged to take one of the red cups just inside Goddard Hall for any beverage as an opportunity for us, the members, to find you and extend a warm welcome to any visitors. If you are new and you want to stay in touch with us, and we hope you will, you can fill out a guest information card in the Welcome Center over in Goddard Hall, or earlier we had them in the foyer. There are also a virtual guest information card in the newcomer section of the website. As far as I know, we only have one announcement, and it's coming from Brian Moon.
I'd like to invite all of you to join the choir for 1 week only next Sunday. It is our last of this season's pickup choir, so if you are able to come at 9:15 and join us here, You need not have ever sung ever before in your life. Just show up and we will make music together. And what we prepare ahead of time from 9:15 to 10 will be what you will hear next week in the congregation. Go ahead, highlighter. We will be practicing the music and then singing it during the service. A song by Meg Barnhouse and another by Dale Evans that I know from David Lee Roth, which people my age will now know what I'm talking about, but more about that next week. And I hope to see many of you next week.
And finally, as a member of your board, I want to share that the Social Justice Council is always looking for ways that we can be active in our community, such as our ongoing food drive and our sale of Cafe Justo coffee and our monthly collection of hard-boiled eggs on the last Tuesday of every month. If you have an event or activity to recommend to us, the Social Justice Council, please let me know. And come talk to me or any of us with the fancy board lanyards. If you want more information, I'll be available over in Social Hour if you have any questions or feedback for your board.
We are grateful for the sun and moon, the sea and earth, for living things that all have worth, for desert brown and sky of blue, and grateful to be sharing them with you.
Okay, we're going to try something different today. Obviously, I'm not Reverend Jamili, but we are going to try and do a story. The name of the story is A Note from My Mother. Have you ever found a note from your mom or dad in your lunchbox? Do you guys know what a lunchbox is? Okay. You know, they're kind of like, there was a picture up. That's my mom. I had a black metal one back in the day. When I was in junior high school, a long time ago, one thing we did in school was pass notes back and forth. I don't know how many of you did that. Try not to get caught, right, by the teacher, hoping their eyes were over here and you were passing over here. I was pretty worried about that. Or do you guys just text now? Maybe nobody passes notes anymore. I could imagine that's what they do. Sometimes these notes made it past the teacher's eyes. Sometimes they caught us. My biggest fear in school was that my note might be read out loud to the whole class. And I can tell you that happened more than once. That's what I called a big, embarrassing moment. That's all caps, big, bold. I've even got it written out here. Well, once when I was in 9th grade, during lunch hour, a note fell out of my black lunchbox onto the table. And I was surprised to see that that was from my mom. Oh man, I thought I was in for another one of those big, embarrassing moments. But I read that note while keeping it hidden from my pals at the lunch table. It was actually a loving, kind note, encouraging, heartfelt, expressing my mom's worries about how well or not well I was doing in school. I was a new kid, I was struggling, it was a new school. I wasn't paying much attention in class. I like to talk a lot. I kept getting report cards. You remember those? Report cards that weren't very good. My bad. My mom, like me, found it easier to write down her thoughts rather than try to talk to me again. Because at the time, I was 15 after all, and I really didn't like to listen to an adult telling me something I actually already knew. That was my mom, and I would definitely have been embarrassed if someone had found that note that day. But I kept that note. I still have it. Still means a lot to me. That's a picture I took of it 3 days ago. I've tried since then to follow her guidance. And part of that note said, I don't know if you can read it up there, don't be afraid to use your brain, she wrote. Do well in your lessons. I think that was another thing she said. And what a gift that note really was. Still is. And I realize that not all of us have had this type of relationship with our biological mother. But whatever your relationship is or was, know you are loved and worthy of being loved in this way. And I still want to say Happy Mother's Day to all our moms and those who mother us. Thank you for trying to offer unconditional love and accepting us, your children, exactly as we are.
Please join me in one more song today. Perfect song to end, as you will realize as you start to sing it. Please rise as you are able, and let's sing hymn 308, The Blessings of the Earth and Sky. The blessings of the earth and sky upon our friendly house do lie. The rightness of the Master's art has blessed with grace its every part, and warmth of many hands is strewn in human blessing on this stone. The wind upon the lakes and hills perform its native rituals. The worship of our human toil brings sacrament from sun and soil. With words and music we the earth in nature's wonder seek our worth. Here we restore ancestral dreams enshrined in floor and wall and beam, a monument wherein we build that their high purpose be fulfilled, a tool to help our children prove an earth of promise and of love. Please be seated.
Will you read with me today our chalice extinguishing? It's called Use Our Inner Lights by Amanda Alice Uluhan. Together, we have enjoyed the warmth and beauty of stories of this flame and of this special community. As our chalice flame is extinguished this morning, we can still remember that its glow is carried with us. We can use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirit of peace and togetherness bless your lives.